Welcome. We are taking up proof of Goldbach conjecture, Goldbach theorem with the proof of the conjecture. Goldbach conjecture, as per the statement, is that every even number greater than 2 can be written as a sum of a pair of primes. 4 can be written as a sum of a pair of primes. 2 is the prime, 2 plus 2 is 4. This E in general will permit expression as 2m. By definition, E is an even. This statement is excluding 2 simply as 2 permits expression as 1 plus 1, but 1 is not a prime. Why 1 is not prime is in itself is an aspect to be chased. We will be chasing it seriously after some sessions, but here for the present it can be taken as 1 permits expression as 1 cross 1. So 1 is being not taken as a prime, but at the same time 2 as well accepts expression as 1 as 2, but 2 is being accepted as a prime. That means the definition of prime is so coined that any number which accepts a factor lesser than the number itself means a proper divisor. So the concept is of a proper divisor, proper factor. So any number, if has a divisor n which is in between 1 and e, if any number between 1 and e, given number, is a divisor of e, then it is said to be composite. So when e is written, say as n and r, where n is not equal to 1, r is not equal to 1, and n is less than e, and r is also less than e. It is like this that prime is being ultimately accepted. So prime is a number, a whole number, which has such properties. We will come into this aspect also in detail subsequently, but for the present we are proceeding with these proof steps. Let us open a new page. Let us mention that we are having a bird's eye view of the universality of the logic of the processing steps of the present proof. Universality of the logic of the processing steps of this proof. The step 1 is availing a feature e is equal to 2m, and step 2 is a feature which is accepting that under root e multiplied by under root e is equal to e. These pair of properties are being availed, and we can have a pause here and take note that first prime 2, the only even prime 2, is of a unique features as that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Further, 2 multiplied by 2 is also 4, and still further minus 2 multiplied by minus 2 as well is 4. And the another feature is that 2 raised to power 4 is equal to 4 raised to power 2. 4 raised to power 2 is value 16, and this value 16 is the value which is parallel to the value of the dimensional frame of 4 space. Quadruple spatial dimensions, 2 space in the role of dimension, and quadruple dimensions together constitute a dimensional frame, and this value is 16. We can have a pause here and take note that we are well acquainted with the 3-dimensional frame of 3 linear dimensions. Now, this set of triple dimensions, linear dimensions as such, is constituting a dimensional frame designated as a linear dimensional frame. In terms of this linear dimensional frame, we exhaust a 3 space by reaching at cube as a representative regular body of a 3 space. It is this reach which that way consolidates the features of a 3-dimensional frame of linear dimensions, making it a cube as a representative regular body of a 3 space. However, when approach this setup of a cube, we see that if instead of triple linear dimensions, if we have triple spatial dimensions, then this dimensional frame of triple spatial dimensions achieves for us a split for a cube into 8 subcubes. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well. It is by imbibing this feature that if we have a cut for a soap cake by a knife blade along the triple axis, then in fact we will be availing this dimensional frame of triple spatial dimensions. And this split of a cube as 8 subcubes is the reach. We extend it, project it as that 3 space splits into 8 octants. It is this reach of 3 space splitting into 8 octants is the reach which the modern mathematics is trying to conceive it, project it, and to have a further processing in terms thereof, as if it is getting restricted only after a linear 3-dimensional frame, while in fact inherently, indirectly, silently, without notice, this 3-dimensional frame of triple linear dimension stands transformed into a 3-dimensional frame of triple spatial dimensions. It is this transition from a linear dimension to a spatial dimension and availing triple spatial dimensions for processing the 3-space phenomenon is the feature which is ignorantly unconsciously being missed. Modern axioms are not appreciating as to how silently their setup is missing a transition for a three-dimensional frame of linear dimensions into a three-dimensional frame of a spatial dimensions. It is here where the modern mathematics has a slip, and it is this slip which is responsible for depriving the modern mathematics to conceive and to imbibe and to work out the reality of our existence phenomenon being not of a three-dimensional frame but being of a four-dimensional frame as solids, three-dimensional bodies, or having a degree of freedom of motion. When I am standing as a solid block, then it is in a static state. However, as I can move, I can have a dynamic state. This transition from static state to dynamic state is there only because the space around me or space in which I am standing is having a four-dimensional setup. There is a fourth dimension available in the outer space for me, which is permitting the transition from my static state to a dynamic state. Let us make a note that the space in which the reality of the dynamic solids is to be chased is not three space, but that it is a four space. It is here where from the Vedic mathematics begins. Vedic mathematics of the Ganita Sutras unfolded and chased by Swamiji is by availing this four space format. There are as many as quadruple spatial dimensions. Within quadruple dimensional frame, our solids, which are splitting, unfolding in terms of triple spatial dimensions. So the modern mathematics of linear axioms chase is to restrict it up till the role of triple spatial dimensions. The Vedic mathematics is to avail quadruple spatial dimensions. So it is the fourth spatial dimension, which is to be availed, and the same is available only if we transit from three space to a four space. We have to transit from hypercube 3 space body to hypercube 4 space body. We can have a pause here and note that the split of a cube into 8 subcubes as such is having a split that at the origin all the innermost corner points of 8 subcubes, the innermost corner points of 8 subcubes are meeting at a point. So the center, the origin of 3 space is a seat along which there is a placement of as many as 8 points, the 8 innermost corner points. Now it is this 8 most corner points placement at the origin, and these points are points of 3 space. So there are 8 solids which are enveloping the origin, and it is hypercube 4. Therefore, the modern mathematics of linear dimensional frame is silently going ignorant and is missing the origin of the cube being of a dual status. Firstly, as like any other point of the cube, and secondly, as that the same is a point of a 4 space. It is the dual status of the origin which is missed by the insistence of the modern mathematics upon the linear dimensional frame approach for the reality. When we will be shifting to 4 space, then hypercube 4 will be leading us to 9 versions. Here all the 8 solid components are present. Here all the 8 corner points, all the boundary components are missing. Here the presence is of 7 components. Here presence is of -7, only 1. Here is presence of 6, and here is a missing points is -6. Here is presence of 5, and here 5 are absent. It is the situation where presence is of 4 and absence is of a 4 corner points. It is here where modern mathematics in terms of a spatial dimensions absence is not having a reach. It is this reach which is not available to the axioms and postulates of the modern mathematics. And it is here where even the differential calculus, the derivative definition as well, is not permitting it to approach, as it is accepting that the derivative is to be taken as n into n minus 1. However, the domain boundary ratio is a raised to power n is to 2n into a raised to power n minus 1. It is here where the differential calculus of the definition of a derivative as it is availing only the half of the boundary. It is because of it that the continuity and the differentiability get distinguished. For continuity, we have to have 2n steps, but for the derivatives, we have to have only n steps, as only half of the boundary is required. That is why after half of the boundary, the differentiability is no more available, while continuity will be available. That is why the modern axioms, postulates are putting the modern mind, modern mathematicians in a bewildering situation as to how is it that everywhere continuous wave function takes us to a situation of nowhere derivable. How is it that everywhere continuous function is leading us to a situation of nowhere differentiable situation? Like that, this missing, this deficiency of the axioms and postulates of the reality is coming in the way of the modern mathematics, because of which the modern mathematics is having its all the problems, all the knots, and all the bewildering situations. The Goldbach theorem as such is also one of this situation, classical situation of the limitations of the axioms and postulates of the modern mathematics. So from here, the Vedic mathematics goes a step ahead. Now, when I had been at the feet of Shri Shri Pad Babaji, then I was brought to a pointed attention as that the center of the cube, which is at a dual status, being a point of cube, and simultaneously it is also a point of the hypercube 4, because it is a seat of hypercube 4. It is the origin seat, and then this origin seat itself is also a seat of the next space, means a 5 space. So 4 space is playing the role of origin of 3 space, but 5 space is playing the role of a 4 space, and simultaneously 3 space is playing the role of dimension of 5 space. It is here where from the Vedic mathematics starts unfolding and goes transcendental. 5 space is playing the role of an origin of a 4 space, and simultaneously hypercube of 5 is of 11 versions, as a raised to power 5 is to 10 b raised to power 4 is the domain boundary ratio. The axioms and postulates of modern mathematics insisting upon the linear processing steps can never reach at this state. And a step ahead, when Shri Shripad Babaji Maharaj had sent me to the feet of Maharishi Mesh Yogi, then I was initiated a step ahead, that to transcend from the transcendental origin, we have to have a transcendental meditation, and then 6 space is to play the role of an origin of a 5 space, and hypercube 6 is the situation which will be taking us domain boundary ratio as a raised to power 6 is to 12 b raised to power 5. As such, the sadhakas fulfilled with the intensity of urge to be face to face with the Vedic mathematics have to sequentially be face to face with the origin of cube, representative body of 3 space, then at the origin of 4 space itself, that is 5 space, then at the origin of 5 space itself, that is 6 space. So compactification of origins. Compactification of origins is the reality. And this compactification is to be unfolded. For unfolding this compactification, we have to be face to face with the phenomenon of the happening within the rays of the sun. So Vedic mathematics ultimately becomes the mathematics of happening within rays of the sun. In this background, let us now revisit step 1. Step 1 is to be reassessed, say in the illustrative case of E is equal to 66. So values range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, 66 will permit us its split of a one limb organization into a pair of limbs organization. So we can reach from 01 to 33, and then again in continuity let us reach from 33 to 66. Once we are having a success of split for a range, single limb range, into a pair of limbs range, with the feature that we begin with value 0, reach at value 33, and then again we begin with value 33 and reach at value 66. It is this feature that why we are beginning with 0 and why we are having a repetitive presence for value 33, means why we are having a repetitive presence for value m in the general universal situation of value e. Then it is this feature which deserves to be revisited, and the feature of it is that when we are starting and reaching at the middle, so we are having a pair of values here and then we are extending ahead. This reach of spatial format at the middle is the feature which deserves to be comprehended well, and for it let us begin with the Ganita Sutra 1, Eka Adhikain Purvain. So it gives us an organization of a single limb, so it will take us to value 0 to 66. Then we know Upsutra 1 gives Anurupain, symmetrical situation give, that means the reverse orientation progression as well is going to be available, and it is this reverse orientation reach which deserves to be appreciated, and it is this reverse orientation to be had is to be comprehended that when we have 1 plus space, then its dimension is minus 1 space. Now this feature also we will be exhaustively covering with full elaboration after some steps, but here it would be sufficient to see that when we are having an organization of linear progression, then parallel to it we can have a linear decrease. So reaching from 1, 2, 3, so on, can have in the reverse orientation as well. Now this feature at a step next, the Ganita Sutra 2 is Nikhlim Navasta Charmam Dashata. See, it is a setup of 3 parts, Nikhlim, Navasta Charmam and Dashata. This Nikhlim is a composition of 7 letters. Navasta Charmam is a composition of 14 letters. Dashata is a composition of 7 letters. So it is this feature 7, 7 plus 7 and 7. How is it that at the middle we have to have a dual value, double value of this value? So it is this feature which will help us appreciate that when we are going to have a bend at the middle, then we have to have a start again as well from the same value, and that is why we will be having a double value here, 7, 7 plus 7 and 7. Still further, we can have a pause and see that when we say have 0, 1 and a 0, summation value is going to be 1, which is equal to 1 square. When we have 0, 1, 2 and 1 0, means when we have an approach to the middle from both orientations, then summation value is 4, which is equal to 2 square. Still further, when we are having a reach up till 3, then the reverse orientation value, then here the summation value is going to be 9 and it is equal to 3 square. So like that, ultimately we will, when we will reach middle value m from both, then we will have m square. It is this feature which also is to play its role in this particular organization, in this particular construction of step 1. Now this step 1 construction, as it is to be seen that when we are having 2 plus 2 and when we are having 2 cross 2, and we are having -2 cross -2. In each cases, we are reaching at the value 4. This feature as well will be coming into play. Therefore, step 1 is to be taken, a step which helps us approach value E as 2m. Means we are splitting a range, a one single limb range, into a pair of limbs range, and the middle value is going to be repeated for its approach from both ends. So we are bringing the end points of the range. The first end point is A, second end point is B. Then we want to have a bend at the middle in such a way that both the end points come on the same side. So we have A and B here, and here we have M and again M. It is this construction which is there as per the need of transition from the linear organization to a spatial organization. So step 1 of the proof, though looks very simple, that instead of having value from 0 to 66, we are organizing it at the middle, taking it 0 to 33 and 66 to 33. This step as such appears to be very simple, but in fact it is availing a format which is inherently transiting from the linear organization of one space in the role of a dimension to two space in the role of a dimension. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well. Moment we will be imbibing this transition and the consequential transformation, then ultimately when we'll proceed further to step 2 and subsequent steps, then we will be appreciating the importance of the construction format availed at the first step itself. Let us make a note. Step 1 is availing the format for transition from the linear order setup to a spatial order setup. Practically, the value E and illustratively value 66 is firstly arranged along a line as a linear sequential progression from 0 to 66, then reaches at the middle M, which is value 33. Then there is a bend at the middle. So this linear single limb organization of 0 to 66 means 67 steps, 67 points organization along a line is constructed, tailored for its formatting along a pair of limbs organization 0 to M and M to 2M. Now 0 to M and M to 2M, if be visited, then it will bring us face to face with that the endpoints, the pair of endpoints of the initial organization of 0 to 66 helps us to have 66 back at the initiation point like 0. So both the endpoints are brought along the same side. So 0 and 66. So first part of the limb is starting with 0 reaching up 33, and the second part of the limb is starting with 66 and again reaching at 33. Therefore, these are the opposite orientations of processing. So the reach from the single limb 0 to 66 of 67 steps is being reorganized, and this organization is of a pair of processing steps simultaneously starting from the same side, then reaching from 0 to 33 and 66 to 33. So these are the pair of opposite orientations reach. So initially we were having a single orientation setup. Now with this construction we are achieving a pair of orientations simultaneously progressing in the equal number of steps, and these steps comes to be 34 from 0 to 33 and 34 from 66 to 33. So in both cases of the first part and the second part, the processing is in equal number of steps. In general, there are m plus 1 steps for the first part and m plus 1 steps for the second part. However, in this illustrative case of 66, we are having 34 steps in the first part and 34 steps in the lower part. This reach, as it is the reach which is helping us reach at a set of 34 duplexes. We started with 0, reached at 33, then simultaneously started with 66 and reached at 33. It is a positive orientation and it is a negative orientation. There are 34 steps, and the parallel pairs of these 34 steps will lead us to summation value at each step being 66, that is E. Therefore, we are having as many as 34 times reach at value E. Now, once we have organized the E or 66 into a format of M and M, 33 and 33, and once the pairing is of the feature, that summation value at each is going to be E, then we are having these 34 sets, pairs, and these pairs are being designated as duplexes. Therefore, step 1 reach is the reach for value E at M plus 1 duplexes. In case of value 66, we are having 34 duplexes. Step 1 has achieved the organization for value E as a set of M plus 1 duplexes. So step 1 achievement for value E is as M plus 1 duplexes. We call it set 1 of duplexes. We call it set 1 of duplexes as we have simply accepted the whole range of values organized by one more than before. So we reached from 0 to 33, then again from 33 we reached back to 66. We had 34 duplexes, and these 34 duplexes as a set is being designated as a set of duplexes. There are these 34, so this set D1 is of cardinality 34. Let us sit comfortably. Let us permit the transcending mind to be face to face with this reach of a step 1. This reach of step 1 as it is a reach at the set of duplexes, set D1 of cardinality m plus 1 in general for value E, and D1 is equal to 34 in case of value 66. Like that, it will be a blissful exercise that we shall fully elaborate, fully express as to the achievement of the step 1. The achievement of step 1 is practically that we organize the value 0 to E along a line, then at the middle M we have a bend, then we reorganize it as 0 to M and M to 2M. So this set is then put in a pairs 0 and E, 1 and E minus 1. Like that, we will be reaching at M plus 1 duplexes. In a concrete situation of value E is equal to 66, we will be first organizing values 0 to 66, then we will be reaching at 0 to 33, then from 33 to 66, then we will be pairing 0 with 66, 1 with 65, 2 with 64, and 33 with 33, which will be providing us 34 such pairs that the sum of the values of the both elements of the same pair is equal to 66. This paired organization of 34 frequency is taking us to a set of duplexes of value 66, and this cardinality of this set comes to be 34. So we have constructed D1 of cardinality m plus 1 for value E is equal to 2m, and D1 is equal to 34 for E is equal to 66. Once we are successfully reaching at this organization, this construction, this attainment of the set of duplexes in respect of value E, then we can say that we have completed step 1. Step 1 is completed by having an organization for value E, firstly as 0 to E, then as 0 to M and M to 2M, then 0 and 2M, 1 and 2M minus 1, and M, like that, having a pairing, and there would be a construction of duplexes. Once the set of duplexes D1 equal to the set of duplexes of cardinality m plus 1 for value E is equal to 2m is achieved, then we can say that we have successfully completed step 1. Now step 1 stands completed. We want to now reach at step 2. The step 2 would mean that from this set of duplexes, we want to have a reach from D1, which is a 0, 66, 1, 65, 2, 64, 33, 33. So there are 34 duplexes. These 34 duplexes are constituting a set. This set of duplexes is of cardinality 34. From here we want to reach at D2. By D2 means that we want to strike out all the values of the upper limb which are having 2 as a factor. So 4 would be ruled out. Like that, we want to have a ruling out. We want to find out the composites of the lower limb which are accepting 2 as a factor, like that this will be ruled out, this will be ruled out. Now it is this set in which the composites with 2 as a factor standing ruled out. Once these are ruled out, then we will be reaching a D2. So D2 is the set of duplexes of the set D1 in which neither the upper part nor the lower part is having 2 as a factor. That means this will be leading us to as many as the values. So in the upper limit we will be having value 4 would be ruled out, then would be 5, 6 would be ruled out, 7, then 9, like that we will reach at 33. Below we will be having 33 and 34 would be ruled out, we would be at 35, 37, and like that we will be reaching at 63. 63. Now here we will be reaching at those duplexes in which neither the upper member is having 2 as a factor nor the lower member which is having 2 as a factor. So these duplexes, the duplexes out of D1 which remain with the upper member dr and lower member dr. These are the members out of that when neither this is composite with 2 as a factor, neither this is a composite with 2 as a factor, then we call it a prime duplex. Therefore, for step 2, we have to initially reach at the prime duplexes with respect to the prime 2. So D2, let us define D2 is the set of prime duplexes dr 2m minus r such that neither r is accepting 2 as a factor nor 2m minus r is accepting 2 as a factor. Once this situation, this condition, this restriction is put upon the duplexes of D1, then the D2 as a subset of D1 will be of prime duplexes in reference to prime 2. It is this reach which is going to be a reach of step 2. So the step 2 is to reach at D2 as subset of a D1 such that the members of D2 are such that the upper member and the lower member both are primes qua prime 2, means they are not accepting 2 as a factor. This restriction, this reach from D1 to D2 at a next step will take us D3 from D2, means where out of these prime duplexes neither the upper part nor the lower member will be having 3 as a factor. We will begin with this. We'll start with this particular situation. We will construct D2, D3, D5 and so on. Therefore, the reach for step 2 is a reach at subsets of D1. This reach is a sequential reach. Firstly, we reach from D1 to D2 by availing prime 2. Then from D2 to we will reach to D3 by availing prime 3, and so on. We'll reach up till dp with p as the biggest prime factor of the composite even number E. Thank you very much.